Hello, my name is Gary Mansfield, and this is a bonus episode of the Ministry of Arts podcast. Now, as ever, let's begin by banging these bongos.
Yeah, right. Crazy.
Hello, and welcome to this bonus episode of the Ministry of Arts podcast. Well, today I've got something very different for you. I'm speaking to Katy Byatt and Jo Turney, who are the founders of CONART, which is a joint social network and art marketplace. Let me just read you their statement. CONART is a social art market combining the community engagement of a social network with the trust of a curated marketplace designed for artists, art lovers and collectors to connect, discover and buy art all on one app. Think Instagram that focuses on art sales, that's run by humans and not algorithms. So I won't give too much away here because Katy and Jo do it so much better than I could. And at the end of this episode, they'll tell you how to join up to CONART. So don't hang around, shoot straight over there and sign up. Please let me introduce you to Katy Byatt and Jo Turney from CONART. This morning I'm speaking to Katy Byatt and Jo Turney from CONART. First of all, could you tell me a bit about yourself, Katy, then you, Jo, and then CONART itself?
Okay, about me. So I started out my life in the Midlands. I lived in the Middle East and I went on to be a lawyer, worked in the city for 20 years, finally saw the light and decided that I wanted to do something different, something more creative. I think I'd probably spent the best part of 5 years feeling that way. And so after working for those 20 years and realizing that wasn't the end game, and actually to sort of follow the passion, I was lucky enough to find Jo and work with her, and then we formulated the business plan that is CONART today.
And was there a love of art there before?
Absolutely. So I've been collecting for a few years. I absolutely love that space. I know I get told off every time I say I don't have any creativity inside of me because everybody does apparently, but not gifted in the same way that a lot of the people that I'm working with are. But absolutely, I love the arts, love anything sort of aesthetically pleasing, let's say.
Well, if you don't mind me saying, the whole creative world, it needs people like yourselves to be creating a pathway for artists and for buyers.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the thing for us. The whole reason behind what we're building now is that accessibility point. And I hate the word accessibility because it's so overused, but that's the reality. The industry we came from is an industry that really wants to be in the arts and wants to access art, but really just doesn't know how to do it.
Yeah. And Jo, your background, if you don't mind me asking.
So my background, I studied maths at university. Before that, I was actually really good at art and I really enjoyed art. I think I did art for A-level, but I ended up kind of gravitating towards the sciences. It was kind of my comfort zone. And then once I did that, I went straight into investment banking, and I've been in banking for my entire working career. But I've always had this kind of urge to do something creative, a little bit like Katy, but I have a love of interiors and interior design. I kind of fell into it when I bought my first house and did it up. And I remember struggling to find nice pieces of statement art, original art on my walls. And Katy and I worked together in banking for 11 years.
Too long.
And we just bonded over our love of interiors and art. And we recognized that it was really difficult for us to find art as busy professionals who didn't have the benefit of time to go gallery hopping, to explore, solo shows, private views, new openings. We didn't have the capacity to immerse ourselves into the art world. But that doesn't mean that we didn't love art and wanted something special for ourselves.
So would you be able to tell me what CONART is?
I've been telling lots of people over the last year. CONART, we call it CONART, is a social art marketplace. So CONART essentially merges that community engagement of a social network with the credibility, trust, and curation of an art marketplace.
Okay.
It is the only one. It's a very simple proposition, and we want it to be simple. But nobody is offering that more immersive, intuitive platform for creatives.
So there's obviously many art buying platforms out
Absolutely.
there. So
Yeah.
I don't know if the biggest is Saatchi, but the one that comes to mind is Saatchi Art. How is CONART different to their platform?
Yeah, sure. So you're absolutely right. There are absolutely millions of them. And just to say that we probably spent the best part of a year diligence in the market.
I could well believe.
But yeah, if you take Saatchi, for example, so Saatchi for me lacks curation in terms of the quality selection of its artists. There is no selection, so anybody can be on it. And I think from both sides of the perspective, from a buyer's perspective, you know, really when you're on and you're searching for a work, and by the way, the search functionality is very non-intuitive. You know, you'll see a work and then it's beautiful, and then it'll be next to a work that actually really degrades that user experience in terms of the of seeing that first piece. And then I think definitely from an artist perspective, and certainly from all the artists that we've been engaging with, one of their biggest concerns is around who they actually show next to. So for them, that's just not an attractive proposition. So CONART very much focuses on quality. It focuses on quality of the artist and the artwork to give both the artists and the art lovers a heightened experience, and to give them that trust that this is a platform on which they can find credible artists.
And that's particularly on the marketplace side of CONART. What we, through our diligence, we also spoke to our network, so the professionals network, people in finance, accounting, the legal industry, etc. And they were saying that, you know, they would find a piece and it'd be £3,000 to £5,000, but they just didn't trust themselves to make that purchase because they didn't know whether there was any kind of quality control around it. So we knew that that's something that needed to be addressed. This is in particular the primary art market. I think in the secondary art market, you kind of have that track record of sales to be able to kind of give yourself that confidence around the purchasing. But yeah, that's something that we really wanted to address from a buyer perspective as well as an artist perspective.
But Saatchi, when I first joined, it was actually something to do with Saatchi Gallery at the time. It was very led for the artist experience, and it was a good experience for the artist. And as soon as it started expanding at quite a big rate, it becomes so diluted, and it was no longer an experience for the artist. It was just like just putting it up on a website and hoping that it's sold, you know.
Yeah,
I think, I mean, it's really good that you addressed that point. We had a lot of feedback from artists on that, referencing Saatchi, but also other platforms as well. I think the reality is with CONART, we haven't spoken about our kind of industry low commission, etc. But with CONART, it can only work if it scales, because we're really trying to promote sustainable careers for artists. So we need to make sure that it scales. Now, how do we incentivize artists to want it to scale so that everyone benefits? And we've put together incentives for artists as well. So for example, if an artist refers another artist and that artist is successful through our panel, then they can benefit from 1% of future sales of that artist.
Oh, wow.
So we're really trying to like address this problem. So we listen to all the problems and we're like, right, can we find a solution for that problem? Because it has to scale. It can't be a tiny platform. It just won't work. It will fall flat. I think the other thing that we didn't really, we're speaking very much about the marketplace side of things, but it's also a social network. So we know that artists and art lovers and creatives have loved Instagram when it first came out. So I think it was the perfect platform for them. And a lot of artists actually, developed their careers through Instagram, and they've done amazingly well on the back of it. But in the last 4 or 5 years, that's just not been the case.
Yeah.
So it's just an oversaturated platform. You're competing with everyone and anything in every sector globally. It's just not the right space. So we also know that needs addressing. And that's why we want CONART to be the go-to social network. So the social network side of the platform will be for all artists, art lovers, etc.
Brilliant.
Marketplace side will be selective. It's all on one app, but that's where the selectivity comes in.
As an artist, so I want to join CONART, what do I do?
So if you want to join CONART, then you essentially just provide, it's a very simple process. You provide us with either your website URL, your Instagram handle. You'll need to build a profile on the app, but it's incredibly simple. Name, pretty much it, email. Our panel of experts will then review the website, review the Instagram, and then within X number of days, we'll obviously come back and say yay or nay to being on the platform. But what I would say, I know Joe wants to speak, what I would say is that like Joe said, it is a social network. So we're very big on community, and we do want everybody in the art ecosystem to enjoy that community. So whether you're an artist that comes on and unfortunately has not been successful in coming through the panel, we would love you to be part of the community and enjoy the others that are on there, because we intend to bring not only artists, art lovers and collectors, but the widest ecosystem on there. So we're thinking about critics, we're thinking about curators, we're thinking about term that we use, facilitators. So let's think about interior designers, hoteliers, etc. So we welcome all in that respect.
And we also have, for example, some more established artists that have full representations by galleries that don't necessarily want to sell or cannot sell actually through CONART, but would love to be part of the platform in terms of the social networking side of things. So yeah, that's exactly right. So what would happen is you'd create a profile and you'd be able to enter, use CONART on the social side of things up until such time as we'll get back to you and confirm whether you can be a CONART artist and sell.
Well, you mentioned there about having a selecting panel. The other art fair have got a panel, so there is a sort of quality control, if you like, for the artists that they want to show or that even they think might sell. What would your panel be looking for, do you think?
I think the key element that our panel will be looking for is quality, but diversity as well. So whilst there will be tangible criteria, there will also be a lot of intangibles that sit in that decision making. And the makeup of that panel will be a very diverse panel as well, because we want that diversity of thought to play into how we decide who is right to be on the platform.
Brilliant.
We've got Sorka Richardson, who's ex-White Cube. She's been with White Cube for 12 years.
Yeah.
And she joined us in the last 3-4 months. She'll be heading up the curatorial strategy for CONART.
Who else would be on the panel? Would it be yourselves, I presume?
We will be on the panel, and we are currently in the process of building that panel out.
So me as the artist, I've applied, I've gone to the in front of the panel. I was successful, hopefully. And is there a fee that artist pays to be a part of CONART?
Absolutely not. I will say that at the centre of building CONART has definitely been the artist. So as Joe mentioned earlier, the vision for CONART is to help artists to build and grow sustainable careers. Brilliant. So in all of our decision making in building this platform has really always focused on artists. So whilst to the three of us, it may sound very obvious in terms of the commission structures that galleries and other online art marketplaces generally adhere to. For people that are more green to buying, they do not realize that so much of what they pay for a piece of work does not go back to the hands of the creator. And that is something that we feel incredibly strongly about. So we are launching with an industry low commission of 20%. That 20% can be reduced further to 15% if artists are to bring on 10 collectors, and those are 10 collectors that make a purchase on the platform. They then benefit from a reduced commission of 15% for the next 12 months of sales. And we think it's really, really important to go out strongly with something like that, because actually we anticipate that our audience, our ideal customer, is going to actually be made up of people that really want to support artists. that want to sort of probably buy more with their heart and their gut. And so we think it's very important to be helping to redistribute some of the wealth.
Brilliant. As a buyer, if I want to buy a piece of artwork that I see on CONART, how do I go about that?
So everyone that's on the platform will need to create a profile. So think about it, for all intents and purposes, as an Instagram. So everybody will have a profile on CONART. If you're a buyer, you just won't have the ability to sell, but you'll just have the ability to buy. Whereas an artist profile will have the ability to sell and the ability to buy. And also the social side of things. So posts, creating content, sharing works that you've seen on the platform with other users on the platform, creating collections wish lists. We've got that feature as well.
Very, very, very simple process though, with integrated payment systems. We were really conscious of making the user experience very, very easy, but also one that we could stand behind. So we have integrated obviously the payments, we've integrated logistics to make it a seamless process both on and off the platform. And
does the buyer have to pay a commission to CONART for buying that artwork?
No.
So if there's an artwork for £1,000, it costs the buyer £1,000.
Yeah, plus delivery.
Superb. You mentioned about the 20%. I've always said that an online art platform shouldn't be charging 50% anyway. But yeah, a brilliant move of going down to 20%.
I absolutely, and we believe in that strongly too. I think the reality is that it can only work with scale, though. This is something that the entire art community needs to get behind if we want to genuinely have this as a viable business model and proposition in the market.
Of course. I know this is an awful question that I don't like myself, but where do you see CONART in 5 years?
I think we see CONART as being the go-to platform for the art world. Whilst at launch, we appreciate that artists will continue to sell on a number of channels. We hope in time that artists see CONART as being the platform that they know they can have access to a buying audience, but also a wider audience that can really help them on their growth trajectory and their career path. We know that we need to offer more than that. So I think in time, we definitely want CONART to be the go-to platform for people to connect, for people to discover, and for people to buy unique original art online.
And as a selling artist, if they've got a comfortable place to sell their art, it is so much easier to get on with your work,
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely 100% agree with that. I mean, through all the research we've done, so much of artists' time is spent not creating.
Yeah.
Because they've got all of the business side of things that they need to take care of. So again, in time, we absolutely want CONART to kind of take away that weight and to sort of free up the time of those artists to spend, in the way that they've obviously, want to spend and should be spending their time, which is in the creation and the process of creating work, which we know can be incredibly timely.
And is it starting off being a UK platform?
So at the moment, we're targeting UK artists with a view to expanding globally very soon after. We just wanted to test it and trial it out at home and see if it works. But the audience itself will be global. The ability to deliver outside of the UK, etc., will be offered.
I mean, if it was in the UK and America, for instance, would everything still go through the panel in the UK, or would it be a panel in the various countries?
Really good question. Personally, I envisage it still being a central panel. That being said, given scale, we may need to consider having multiple ones, but I'm not sure that's going to be necessarily location driven, but certainly something to consider once we're at a stage where we feel, we need to be responding in a timely manner and we just can't do that.
Yeah. If it all goes to plan, you could have thousands of people joining on a daily basis.
No, exactly. And I think we are conscious of, I know we keep talking a lot about scale, and we're conscious of doing it in the right way, which we're talking about, but also conscious of, I guess, building in processes and operating procedures that allow us to, scale. as I don't want to say as quickly as we can, because we, like I say, we're very conscious of doing it authentically and organically, which is how we've currently done it up to this point. I mean, one thing we should mention is around the fact that, again, through all of the research and diligence that we did and the conversations we had with both buyers and artists, it was clear that people really like in-person events, and we recognize the power, particularly from a community building perspective, of bringing people together in the physical world. So whilst CONART, yes, is an app launching soon, we also will have an events program that runs alongside it, which will take the form of formal and informal events. And we've had a number of artist-centric informal events, and we've also held a number of shows. And we will continue to do that, probably the shows on a sort of every other month basis, because we just really recognize the power of, like I said, getting the right people in a room and really heavily curating our audience at those shows.
I think also the other thing that we're doing over and above the existing art marketplaces is that, you know, you mentioned nothing quite beats obviously the physical experience of experiencing the artwork in person, but also speaking to the artist. So our platform is a peer-to-peer platform. So the artist will have a direct, you know, contact with their fan base, call it that. So we definitely want to take buyers that kind of one step closer to understanding who the artist is, what inspires them, you know, that journey to creating the artwork, what are the difficulties that sit behind that, just so that they can relate more to the artwork itself.
Do you think that connection can still hold if it expands massively?
Yes, the buyers that are interested in your work will follow you and request to connect with you, and then if you accept that connection, then they will have a feed. Think about an Instagram. That's
what I had in mind as you were
speaking. They will be able to see all of your new works that are coming in. And actually what we've experienced is the more you see the artwork, the more you kind of fall in love with it. And you know, it could be that buyers will come on the platform and be like, I'm just going to go for a browse, follow a few people and just keep checking. And I think what happens is then you kind of convert them just by exposing them that artist or that type of artwork, and there will be some that they just gravitate towards, and we think that will massively increase sales conversion for artists.
No, I agree. I like the way that it sounds, you know, the good bits of social media and the good bits of an art platform coming together, and there isn't that at the moment.
And I think also the reality is, Gary, we don't know which way it's going to take off. You know, if we know that that having a niche social network for all things art is in high demand. We know that's something that the art world is craving, both artists but also buyers. It's impossible for us as buyers to find art on Instagram. What do we hashtag? Art, abstract, like what do we don't know. It's so we don't know, like, you know, the marketplace kind of makes sense. It makes sense to tie them in together, but we don't know exactly what's going to get the most traction and whether it will be the social networking side of things.
I understand that CONART hasn't gone live just yet. When will it be going live?
September.
And how would anyone be able to get the CONART app?
Okay, so they can either pre-order it ahead of, they'll be able to shortly pre-order that. Otherwise, it'll be available on the App Store and Google Play.
When it comes to artists applying from there, how would they get in contact with CONART at the moment, be it website or social media?
So at the moment, they can get in touch with us. So we have a website, they can register on that, and they can sign up to our wait list. And we obviously have all the details of who's on the wait list. They can message us through our social media accounts. So there's multiple ways in which they can do that. So
our website is www.theconart.com.
Okay.
And our Instagram handle is @CONART_Global.
CONART Global tells us where it's looking at going, right?
Exactly. Got it.
Well, that's all my questions asked, guys.
Thank
all I
you.
can say is all the very best of luck with CONART.
And thank you.
I'll put my work forward and see if I can be one of the lucky ones.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
But also, like, you should definitely have a profile in any case for your podcast. I mean, this is this is going to be an entire community of people in the art world, right? From art people in art industry, artists, art lovers, collectors, interior designers, hoteliers, just everyone that's on the lookout for art or all things art. That's the go-to platform.
Brilliant. Yeah, so all the very best with CONART. It
Thank
sounds
you.
amazing.
Thank you.
And obviously unique. There's nothing like it at the moment. Okay, guys. Well, thank you very much for your time, and all the very best with CONART. And I'll be sure to join when the app comes out on the 12th of September.
It's been really cool, Gary. Thank you so much.
Great to meet.
See you later.
Gary. Bye-bye.
If you've got an exhibition or any other creative project within the arts, or even just want to promote your own artwork, you could do that in podcast form, similar to the one you've just listened to. They start at a convenient price point that is comfortable for any artist working on a budget. This podcast itself is created by working artists, and we know how important that is. So to find out more information, you can email us on ministryofartsorg@gmail.com or on Instagram @ministryofartsorg. Ta-da!